बोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं मूकं करोति वाचालं भङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि यद्यदाचरति श्रेष्ठस्तद्देवेतरो जनः स यत्प्रमाणं कुरुते लोकस्तदनुवर्तते न मे पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यं त्रिषु लोकेषु किञ्चन नानवाप्तमवाप्तव्यं भारत एव च कर्मणि यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं जातु कर्मण्यतन्द्रितः मम वर्त्मानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः उत्सीदेयुरिमे लोका न कुर्यां कर्म चेदहम् सङ्गरस्य च कर्ता स्यामुपहन्यामि मा प्रजाः सक्ताः कर्मण्य विद्वांसो यथा कुर्वन्ति भारत कुर्याद्विद्वांस्तथा सक्तश्चिकीर्षुर्लोकसङ्ग्रहम् न बुद्धिभेदं जनयेद् अज्ञानां कर्मसङ्गिनां जोषयेत् सर्वकर्माणि विद्वान् युक्तः समाचरन् प्रकृतेः क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः अहङ्कारविमूढात्मा कर्ताहमिति मन्यते तत्त्ववित्तु महाबाहो गुणकर्मविभागयोः गुणागुणेषु वर्तन्त इति मत्वा न सज्जते प्रकृतेर् Last time in the class, we came to we did verse 27, but it was not recorded. So the sound was not recorded, just a video. So people who watch the online version asked me to go back and redo the verses we did last time. And so I will do that because it won't hurt you to hear it a second time. And I will go a little faster, so we will cover some new ground today also. But we'll begin with verse 20 for context, and then really beginning with 21. So I'll say the... oh no, we've already done the chanting. So I was thinking I'm so used to doing a chant by myself at the beginning, I was going to do a chant now, but that we've already done together. So good. So number 20 is Karmanaiva hisam siddhim astita janakadayah lokasangrahamevapi sampashyan kartumarhasi. Oh no, it's on. So here Sri Krishna is saying that Karmanaiva hisam siddhim astita janakadayah. The Janaka, the famed King Janaka of Indian lore, and others attained to some siddhi, attained to complete perfection. Not just siddhi, perfection, but some siddhi, samyak siddhi. Full perfection, karmanaiva, by work alone. So Janaka, King Janaka, and some other great sages of the past attained to perfection by work, by the path of work alone. Loka sangrahamevapi sampashyan kartuma arhasi. Since they were able to do that, you also, O Arjuna, looking to loka sangraha, looking to the welfare of the world, should proceed. Kartumarhasi. You also should look to the welfare of the world. That is not just to your own liberation, but you should look to the welfare of the world, as Janaka and others did. That is, there were mainly two broad paths. Those who renounced everything and went to the forest and lived in a cave or lived in the forest in a kutir, renouncing everything, including society, and spent their time in solitary meditation. And those who, for whatever reason, because of responsibilities or whatever, lived in the world, ordinary lives, and there in the world pursued liberation, the path of liberation. And these two paths were sometimes taught as contrary to each other. In fact, some of you have heard of the famous guru of modern times. He passed away around 1981 or 1982, Nisargadatta Maharaj. He lived in Mumbai. He was a beedi sales person. He had a beedi shop in Mumbai. But he was a man of great illumination, and so many people used to go to him. He was married and had children, but then when he was in his mid-30s, he attained to illumination. He belonged to the Nath Sampradaya of Maharashtra and attained to Advaitic knowledge, the knowledge of the self. And so he renounced the world and started wandering off to the Himalayas. And then on his way to the Himalayas, he met one of his brother disciples. And the brother disciple asked him, well, what are you doing? Where are you going? And he said, well, I've renounced the world. I'm going to the Himalayas to spend my life in this knowledge. And he said, no, your guru taught us to live in the world. You return to your family, you live there, and maintain your liberation there. And so he did. He went back to Mumbai, ran his beedi shop till the end of his life. I think it was in his 80s when he died, and lived a life of illumination. And so there were these two paths that were available, one of complete renunciation and the other remaining in the household as a person of knowledge. Even Totapuri, the great Totapuri, who himself was a sannyasi and who himself lived a life of great renunciation and renunciation of society and all of that, when he told Sri Ramakrishna, when he found out that Sri Ramakrishna was married, that you can live with your wife, and that will be the great test of your knowledge, the test of your Advaitic jnana. And so, of course, that's what Ramakrishna did. So here Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna, not that he's criticizing the other path of complete renunciation and solitary renunciation, but for the majority of people, they can't do that. Either circumstances won't permit, or they don't have the temperament or whatever. And so Sri Krishna says that people like Janaka, they lived in the world and attained to the highest knowledge. And so you can do that, thinking of the welfare of others. Thinking of the welfare of others, loka sangraha. So as I said last time, the loka sangraha, the welfare of others, is a very important concept. And it's at the foundation of what Swami Vivekananda gave as the ideal for our order. When he said the motto of the order is Atmano Mokshartham Jagad Hitaya Cha, Atmano Mokshartham, for the liberation of oneself, Jagad Hitaya Cha, and for the welfare of the world. The second part is for Loka Sangraha. Loka Sangraha literally means for collecting people, gathering people, but it refers to the working for the welfare of the world, Loka Sangraha. So Swamiji said that in his monastic order, and this was meant for devotees as well, but he said in the monastic order also, which was new for monastic orders in India, he said, you can practice any combination of the yogas that you want, any yoga or any combination, but everyone in this Sangha must practice some karma yoga, because he wanted to bring that practicality into India, which had lost that. Not that India had always been impractical, but over centuries, India had become impractical, too theoretical and not enough practical. So he wanted to bring practicality into India. And in the West, he taught karma yoga, as I said last time, because here people could not sit still. And in India, they sat too still. And so karma yoga he saw as a means that would cure the defects he found on both sides of the ocean. Bringing practicality to India and rousing the more active spirit. He saw that as necessary because through his yogic vision, he could see that without that, India would not be able to compete in the modern world. And if India could not compete in the modern world, India would be lost as a civilization. Look at what happened to Tibet. Not that India was in the same situation as Tibet, but Tibet was completely overcome by China. The Dalai Lama himself said that it was our own fault, the Tibetans' fault, that we were overcome by China, because we thought that we could live our own cultural life just by ourselves. We didn't need the outer world. So we closed our borders and just were content to lead our own Buddhistic contemplative life within our vast country. And Tibet is a vast country, a huge country. We were content with that, but the world wouldn't allow it. And so when the time came, there was nobody to help us. We had no relationships, we had no commitments to other countries, and so we were at a loss. And we were not prepared for an invasion of a modern army also. And so Swami Vivekananda saw that India, in order to survive in the modern world, would have to become practical and would have to modernize and would have to confront the modern world. He said that we thought that for too long that we could live within our own borders and ignore the rest of the world. No, we can't. The Dutch and then the British and the Danish and the French and all of the colonial powers, Portuguese, they showed that India could not live by itself because others would not allow India to live by itself. So it had to become more aggressive, not in the sense of aggressive towards other people, but aggressive towards life. That is, to become more active in life. So again, Loka Sangraha, for the welfare of others. Arjuna is encouraged to take up work, to be active, not to renounce work. So then in verse 21 we come to Yadyaracharati shreshtas tattadevetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate. Yad yad acharati shreshta, shreshta, the best person, the greatest person, yad yad acharati, whatever the greatest person does, yad yad acharati, yad yad whatever he does, tat tadevetaro janaha, that other people will follow. So whatever the best people do, that ordinary people will follow. And that we see in ordinary society, that the people are always looking to exemplars. Whether our heroes are politicians, whether our heroes are movie stars, whether our heroes are sports figures, as they are for many people nowadays, or whether they are great rishis, great sages, then we try to emulate them, or if they're great scientists. We try to emulate those that we look up to. If our heroes are the wealthy, the Bill Gates and Warren Buffetts of the world, then we look up to them and try to imitate them. And as the story goes, it's told in the Bengali story goes, it's probably in other languages in India also, about the peasants who were invited to a feast. Then they wanted to eat whatever the babus were eating, because if the babus were eating it, it must be good. Even though the babus had weak stomachs and were eating sick food, but they thought, no, whatever the babus ate, that must be the good food. So we want what the babus are eating. So like that, whatever the great people do in society, or whoever are considered great, even if we consider that movie stars are the greatest, the movie stars are considered the greatest, then we try to emulate them. So then he continues the thought in verse 22. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nanavaptam avaptavyam bharata eva cha karmani. Name parthasti kartavyam. Oh, Partha, there's no duty for me. Trishu lokeshu kinchana. There's no duty whatsoever. Kinchana. Trishu lokeshu, in all of the three worlds. So last time there was a question about what are the three worlds. The three worlds are, in Vedic times, there was first the idea of three worlds. That is, there's Bhur, Bhuhu, this world, Earth, the Earth, that which we're seeing, and then Bhuva, Chandraloka, the land of the forefathers, where if we are good in this life, basically good in this life, we go after death to the land of the forefathers. And there we live in a long-term family reunion where we have refined, spiritualized bodies, not spiritual bodies, but refined, subtle bodies, where we don't suffer from any stomach ache, where we enjoy, where there are plenty of enjoyments, we have a good time, there's no cause for sadness and so forth, and we spend a long time there. If we're very Yama were human beings in a past life, but attained to great virtue, and they became holders of offices in Swarga, where they run the administrative posts of the universe. And not that if we are very good that we go and become a deity, but we go and live in that realm. It's a highly refined realm of highly refined enjoyment, which lasts for a long time. But in both cases, whether we go to Chandraloka or Swarga, also known as Swarga, the time comes when that life in those heavenly realms ends, and then we come back here. And when we come back here, reborn in a human form, we have no memory whatsoever of having lived in those worlds. And so it's said that we should try to avoid going to those worlds, because it's just a waste of time. As long as it lasts, good. We enjoy, we're having a great time, there's no stomach ache, there are no headaches, no disease, highly refined enjoyments and so forth. And so we have a great time. Everything is beautiful, everything is pleasing. But just as here on this world, if everything is too pleasing, then we just go to sleep. If everything is too perfect, we just go to sleep. There's nothing to spur us onwards. And so those worlds are not karmic worlds. They're where we experience the fruits of our karma, but we don't make any karma. So there's no possibility of evolving in those worlds. We just go and spend long ages enjoying ourselves. But the time comes when we have to come back here. Shankaracharya and Swamiji both go so far as to say that the denizens of those worlds, the citizens of those worlds, are selfish because they're having a great time and they don't think of anything, they don't think anything about the people suffering here on this plane. They're having a good time, so why should I worry about people on earth? I've got my good karma, I paid my dues, and so I'm having a good time. Why should I think of anything else? And that we also see with people who are not that all wealthy people are like this, but people who are very wealthy and who are too immersed in their wealth, then they think like that. I paid my dues. I have attained to the state of great wealth, and so let other people, the fools, pay taxes and those things, and let me get out of as much taxes as possible. And who cares about the riffraff? Whether they suffer, it doesn't matter. That's their problem. Those people who want food stamps, those people who want welfare and so forth, then let them die, it doesn't matter. People like me deserve to enjoy because we are the cream of society. So everything should be geared towards our enjoyment. So Shankaracharya and Swamiji say that becomes the nature of people living in heavenly worlds. Selfishness and also jealousy of people who go higher than they do. And so that world seems outwardly to be wonderful. And if we were to suddenly see the pleasures of such heavenly worlds, we might be overcome with, this was how nice it would be to live here. But no, that's why the Mundaka Upanishad warns us that when you die, then these messengers from those worlds will come to you and say, Ehi, come. Enjoy for a long, long time these wonderful pleasures. Come with us. We'll take you to these heavenly worlds. So it says that, no, the discriminating soul says, no, I won't go to those worlds. I won't go to those worlds. If I can go higher to a spiritual world, yes, I will do that. Or if I need to, I'll take birth again on earth. But I don't want these heavenly pleasures because it's only a distraction. Because again, the time is going to come when it's over. And when it's over, it's as if it never happened because you haven't gained anything by being there. You don't even remember being there. So there's no gain whatsoever. It's like here when you go on a vacation and you have a great time, but then the time is over and you go back to work. At least then you can remember back to your vacation and say, oh, that was so much fun. But again, most vacations you come back and there's nothing to show for it except for some souvenirs and photographs. And then you're back in work again. Once it's over, it's over. And here it's even more over because you can't even remember it. You don't even have photographs. You don't have a video of all of the smiling people there and all of that. No, nothing to remember. Not even in your own mind, nothing to remember. So that's the three worlds. Later there was you see in the Taittiriya Upanishad, very interesting. In the Taittiriya Upanishad itself, you see the discovery of the next world, Maharaloka. There's later the idea of the seven worlds, which comes later in the late part of the Vedas and then through the Puranas and so forth. But in the Taittiriya Upanishad, you find a sage who experiences Maharaloka, the fourth world. And then you go up to the seventh world, which is Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. And Satyaloka or Brahmaloka, that's the only one of these seven worlds which is a spiritual world. Each one of them is higher and higher in a highly refined world. But when you get to Satyaloka, if you go to Satyaloka, you don't have to return to human birth. There you live a highly spiritual life, a life of deep meditation, a life of deep spiritual refinement, where you continue your spiritual path in the most propitious circumstances. And there you attain liberation. You don't have to come back to earth. So, in the different religions, the Vaishnava heaven, Vaikuntha, the Shaiva heaven of Kailas, The Christian mystical heaven, not the heaven that most Christians believe in, is like a family reunion. It's like Chandraloka. But the heavenly world that the Christian saints speak about, the Western paradise of the Buddhists, the mystical world of the Sufis, and so forth, all of those are different ways of seeing Brahmaloka. Brahmaloka is the realm of the mystical paradise, going to which there's no need to return to this earth, unless one, out of great compassion, decides to take birth for the welfare of others. But otherwise, there's no need, no compulsion anymore. One lives in a deep state of meditation, communion with the divine, and then from there goes on to liberation. So those are the 7 worlds. And of course, then there are the 7 lower worlds. If there are 7 higher worlds, there must be 7 lower worlds also. That was the idea. There must be some sort of balance. And those are worlds of greater and greater suffering. But those also are temporary. So those who are extremely evil go to those worlds. And but for most of us, we don't need to think in terms of the 7 upper worlds or the 7 lower worlds. Of course, the 7 upper worlds includes the earth. So the 6 upper worlds and the 7 lower worlds, because this world itself can be heaven-like and can be hell-like. And so we don't need to worry about other worlds. We can have a hellish existence here or a heavenly existence here. Swami Swahananda used to have a nice story that he would tell. Swami Swahananda was a wonderful joke teller, as those of you who knew him will know. And one of his stories was about a seminary, Christian seminary, where they were teaching seminarians, that is, those who were going to become preachers, Christian preachers, teaching them homiletics, that is, how to give a sermon. And so the teacher was that day was telling the students that in your sermons, you have to be able to project the emotion that you're speaking about. And so when you're speaking about heaven, then you should look up into the skies, and as if you were seeing heaven, all of the glories and the beauties of heaven, and a beautiful beatific smile on your face, and that should radiate out to the others so that they know the glories of heaven. And then somebody said, but sir, what shall we do when we speak about the terrors of hell? For that, your ordinary face will do. so that our ordinary face is usually that really reflects the experience of hell that we experience here. So we don't need to think in terms of heavenly worlds or hellish worlds. Yes, Vedanta says they exist. And Sri Ramakrishna said that his niece, Lakshmi Didi, she came from one of those higher realms, not Brahmaloka, but one higher than Swarga, one of the 5th or 6th world. And Lakshmi Didi herself had a vision in which she saw that and said that everything looked as if it was made of molten silver, that everything was like precious silver. And so Sri Ramakrishna and others say that such worlds exist. But if you don't find it difficult to believe in such things, that's okay. But where do they exist? You'll find people who can only think in very concrete terms, say that, oh, they exist in some place. There's some who have mapped out planets and things, that you go to a planet or somewhere. No, all of the worlds are right here. This world disappears to you. This world is non-existent to you. And in the dream, another world appears right here. You don't go somewhere when you're dreaming. It's right here. In place of this, the dream world appears. And so when you die, if you go to another world, all of the worlds are right here. Everything is right here. London, India, South Africa, the moon, the sun, everything is right here. That's difficult to understand, but everything is right here, right now. The mind projects out into space with ideas of distance and all of that, but everything is right here. And so all of the worlds are right here. If right now we were to change the vibration, to use that figuratively, the vibration of our minds, then this would disappear and we would see other worlds with other types of beings living there. So everything is right here. So anyway, coming back to the verse, in all the three worlds, O Partha, there is no duty whatsoever for me to fulfill. There is nothing unachieved that is to be achieved. Nanavaptam avaptavyam. There's nothing unachieved that I have to achieve. Varta eva cha karmani, through any work. So Partha, there's no duty for me whatsoever. There's nothing unachieved that I have to achieve. That's the idea of God. That's why this universe is said to be the play of God. Because if God wanted to create the universe, if God had a purpose in creating the universe, then God is not God. To have a purpose means that you have a need. That where I am and what I am right now is not enough. I want something more. I want something different. So I have a purpose. I'm going to create something. I'm going to do something. No, to have a purpose means that you're limited, that you're not satisfied with what you are. But God is absolute perfection. And so God can have no purpose. So people ask, what is the purpose of the world? There can be no purpose to the world. Because if God created the world with a purpose, then God is not God. The world, that's the whole idea of the play of God. God wasn't doing it with a purpose. It's just out of the exuberance of the divine being. Just out of play, no purpose whatsoever. And that you get in Swamiji's lectures, especially, it's in many of his lectures, but especially in his California lectures. That was the state that he was in at that time. So once Miss Bell, who was a New Age thinker of that time, she became interested in Swamiji's teachings, and she used to attend his lectures and became close to him. So one day she said, "Oh, Swamiji, this world is like a schoolhouse where we have all come to learn our lessons." Now, Swamiji himself had said that in earlier years. He had used that analogy, that this karma bhumi is a schoolhouse where we come to learn our lessons so that we can go back to the divine. But now Swamiji, of course, at that time also earlier Swamiji knew, but he was speaking from a lower position. But now Swamiji was in a very high state all of the time in California, so he wouldn't accept that. So when she said, "Swamiji, this world is like a schoolhouse and we are all here learning our lessons," Swamiji said, "Madam, who told you that this is a schoolhouse? It's not a schoolhouse. This is a circus ring and we are clowns playing just for fun. When we get tired of it, then we will stop. When we're tired of it, we'll stop. So we're doing it just for fun." That's very difficult to understand because right now it seems like, well, I'm not doing anything for fun. I'm doing it because I have to. I'm caught. I'm a slave of circumstances. I'm pushed this way, I'm pushed that way. But there is a state where one can see that everybody here, even those of us who are still bound, who think that we are slaves, that we are in misery, that we are being forced by circumstances. No, even we are clowns playing a game. It's just that we've forgotten that we're playing, but we're still clowns playing just for fun, just for fun. That's the only reason that we're here, is just for fun. And so that, again, is very difficult to see, but Swamiji was living in that state where you can actually see that everyone is perfect. Right now, everyone is perfect. Every one of us is perfect. Everyone is just playing a game, just for the fun of it, but we don't know it. We've identified so much with our roles that we take them seriously. That's whether we're beggars or whether we're kings. It doesn't matter. All of our roles are just for fun. So in understanding this verse, we have to understand something else. It's a very profound verse. That in the Gita, Sri Krishna is both Ishvara, an avatara of Ishvara, and as an avatara, he is Ishvara, one with God, the personal God, but he's also the Atman. And so we can understand this from the standpoint of God, and we can understand it from the standpoint of Atman, which applies to us as well. So Sri Krishna is saying that as Ishvara, as an avatara of Ishvara, that for me there is no duty, because for God there is no duty. If God is perfect, then what duty can God have? What purpose in creation can God have? None whatsoever. God is perfectly free, perfectly fulfilled, no need whatsoever. But taking Sri Krishna as the Atman. Sri Krishna is speaking also as the Atman. The Atman, which is each one of us. Each one of us is the Atman. That we have no purpose also. Now that's difficult to live up to. And so most of us need a sense of purpose, that we have, our purpose is to learn to know God, to love God, and so forth. And so that's okay, that's provisional. But a time comes when this becomes very meaningful to us, that no, I have no purpose whatsoever. This is all just appearing. There's just this magnificent play going on, and no purpose whatsoever. It's all just for fun. There was that saint who lived for some time in Dakshineshwar during Sri Ramakrishna's sadhana period. He lived in the kutir at the Panchavati. And Sri Ramakrishna said that he would stay in the kutir meditating and doing japa and whatever practices he was doing all day and all night. But twice a day he would come out of the kutir and he would dance and sing and clap his hands and say, "Oh mother, what a wonderful Maya you have made. What a wonderful Maya you have made." In ecstasy he would dance just looking at all of this. So we can't do that because we're bound by it. And so we find that we're stuck. We're made miserable. So many problems that we have to face every day. But such a person has gone beyond all of that. Seeing the world, but seeing it as the Divine Mother's play, and just seeing everything manifesting of itself. Such a person has no fear whatsoever. So if, for such a person, they also can say, "Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana." Oh, Partha, I have no duty whatsoever in the three worlds. There's nothing unfulfilled that I have yet to fulfill through action. So then going on to 23, Yadi hyaham navarteyam jatu karmanya tandritaha mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. Yadi hi aham navarteyam jatu karmanya tandritaha. So yadi aham, O Arjuna, if I karmani atandritaha, if I ever jatu did not work ceaselessly. Karmani, in work, atandritaha, vigilantly, ceaselessly in action. Varteyam, did not continue in action, continuously. So, O Partha, if ever, jatu, if ever, I didn't engage in action continuously, Mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha, then in all ways people would follow my example. So again, as he said, yad yada acharati shreshta, whatever the superior person does, that others follow. And so if I, O Arjuna, didn't engage in work ceaselessly, then others would follow my example. So for Partha, if at any time I do not continue vigilantly in action, men will follow my path in every way, as it translates it here. And then he goes on with the same idea. Utsideyuri me loka nakuryam karma chedaham sankarasya takartasyam upahanyami ma prajaha. So ime loka, these worlds, utsideyuhu, would be destroyed. They would collapse. These worlds would collapse. Nakuryam karma chedaham. Chedaham, if I, nakuryam karma, na karma kuryam, if I did not perform action. So these worlds would collapse if I did not perform action. Sankarasya chakartasyam upahanyami ma prajaha. And I would become the author, the agent of the intermingling of castes, and shall thereby destroy these beings. So as I explained, structure was part of what held India together. For modern times, because even in India the caste structure has begun to, there is long into the process of dissolving. And now it has more of a way of tracing family lineage and community and so forth. But even for work and everything, the sons of Brahmin priests are now engineers and doctors, and the sons of Shudras are bank presidents. And so the structure of society has completely changed in modern times. But instead of, when many people read this, especially Westerners read it, the caste system itself is to Westerners a horror, unnecessarily. Actually, caste system, as I explained last time, did great things for India. It allowed India to maintain stability of culture over long ages, whereas in other countries, civilizations came and went. But the stability of Indian society and the stability of culture and the transmission of culture from generation to generation was largely held intact by the caste structure. And yes, there was discrimination, which was not good. There was privilege, which was not good. But the basic structure served a very useful purpose in Indian society. And as I explained last time, one other function that it served was that it allowed people of different customs and different habits and things to live side by side peacefully. In other societies, there was the effort to destroy diversity, to make a society uniform, to make everybody follow the same habits. If you didn't live according to the norms of the dominant society, then you were either driven out or killed. That you had to follow. But in India, various populations were accommodated with their own practices. You can have your own marriage customs, you can have your own eating customs and all of that, but you are a caste and we have ours with our caste. So it allowed for diversity within the same country in close quarters among the different castes. Another thing that it did was it gave everybody a sense of place, a sense of participation in society. When I was at Mayavati, one day the sweeper, Jailal, he was sweeping the gutters. He used to clean the latrines and everything. He lived nearby. He'd come every day and clean the latrines, sweep out the gutters and all of that. So I was passing by him, going from one building to another, and he said, Maharaj, my work is very, of course he's speaking in Hindi, but Maharaj, my work is very dirty work. But without me, society can't continue. Without my work, society can't continue. And I thought, yes, that was the purpose of the division of labor, so that people felt that they were involved in the society, that they had a part in the society. So again, I'm not excusing the oppression that happened and the discrimination and all of that happened, but where has that not happened? That was not unique to the caste system. That happened here in America. It still happens here in America. It happens everywhere. And so that horror with which Westerners approach the caste system, that's because of a misunderstanding. And because of an inability to see the problems of our own society and to project those onto another society. So as I explained last time, the important thing in this verse, now that caste as a way of dividing work and everything has dissolved already within India largely. That what we have to understand by this is that the norms of society will be destroyed. If I don't continue my work, if I don't do that which a person is supposed to do in their station in life, then the norms of society become destroyed. And that's true in every society. Every society has its norms, that which is expected of a citizen, that which is expected of a religious person, that which is expected of the privileged people, the idea of noblesse oblige, the French expression noblesse oblige, that people of privilege, they have a duty to society to help those who are not privileged. When that disappears, as you find has disappeared now, has disappeared largely, not from every individual, but largely from society now, where the privileged want to live in gated communities and keep out the riffraff and want to avoid paying taxes. want the majority of the benefits of society to come to them. They don't want to support Social Security, don't want to support Medicare, Medicaid for the poor, don't want to give food stamps to those that can't afford to buy groceries, want more and more of the benefits of society to come to themselves. Then the norms of society begin to collapse. And then the society itself begins to collapse. So what Sri Krishna is talking about here, he's phrasing it in a way that was familiar to the people of his time because of the structure of society at that time. And by the way, the caste system in some form existed in all societies. But the system that existed in his time, he's phrasing it in terms that people of that time could understand. But what he means is that when the norms of society, when the acceptable behavior begins to disappear in a society, then the society itself collapses and people are destroyed. And so it's that which he's telling Arjuna, that if I don't work ceaselessly, then the norms of society will begin to collapse. And people will be destroyed. And that, as I've said before, that's what we see right in front of us now, the norms of society being destroyed, where lying is not considered anything extraordinary. You can lie and shout it at the top of your voice, and if you shout it loud enough, then your lies become truth or become accepted as truth. No, that's the destruction of society. Truth has to be a norm. Truth has to be the foundation of society. Yes, people lie. People have always lied in order to avoid trouble and so forth. But if that becomes okay, that's the problem. If it's recognized that that so-and-so lied and people say, yes, and the person is embarrassed and said, yes, I did lie, but I'll try to do better, then okay, that's the norm for society. People are always stretching the rules a little bit. But when the breaking of rules becomes okay, that's not okay. Then that's the destruction of society, and that's what we see in front of us. Hopefully it won't come to that, the actual destruction of society, but if it continues in this direction, it will mean the actual destruction of society. Massive destruction, massive suffering for huge numbers of people. And so truth is truth. Goodness is goodness. Honesty is honesty. Truth is tying things to actual facts. Not just saying something because it comes into the head and is going to get me an advantage. No, that is not okay. So that's what Sri Krishna is talking about. And so what he's saying is as applicable to us today as it is to his time. So then verse 24, he says, Sakta karmanya vidvamso yatha kurvanti bharata Kuryad vidvams tatha saktas tikirshur loka sangraham. Sakta karmanya vidvamso yatha kurvanti bharata. O Bharata, O Arjuna, the way that the saktas, that is people who are attached to work, attached to the fruits of their work, the way that those who are attached work, those who are ignorant and are therefore attached, the way that they work, Kuryad vidvams tatha saktas tikirshur loka sangraham. In the same way, the knowing ones, the wise ones, should also work. So the way that ordinary people work, attached to the fruits of their action, out of ignorance, the wise ones should also work, but they should work in an unattached spirit. So the way that people get up in the morning, they go to work, they do their duties, they work for the welfare, they do their responsibilities and so forth. The knowing ones should work in the same way, but without attachment for the fruits of of their actions, and chikirshur loka sangraham, wishing to work for the welfare of others. They should do it with non-attachment and doing it for the good of others, not doing it for themselves. And so ordinary people go to work every day, they take care of their families, except for the really wicked people, but they go to work, take care of their families, they do the various things that they have to do in order to get along in life. They have to pay their taxes, they have to take care of their things and so forth. So the knowing ones should do the same, but do it without attachment and do it for the welfare of others. So that's what Sri Krishna is saying. O scion of the Bharata dynasty, as the unenlightened people perform their duties with attachment to work, So should an enlightened person act without attachment, being desirous of joshayet sarvakarmani vidwan says nabuddhi bhedam janayed ajnana sanginam. So the ajnanas, the people of ajnana, the people who are ignorant and who are karma sanginam, who are attached to the fruits of their action. Attached to action, or meaning attached to the fruits of the actions. So those who are ignorant and attached to the fruits of their action should be engaged in action. Joshayet nabuddhipedam janayed. Well, you should not cause confusion in the minds of those who are ignorant and attached to action. Joshayet sarvakarmani, but rather they should be engaged in all types of action. Vidwan yukta samacharan, by the knowing one, who is self-controlled and let's see, how does he? The enlightened person, yukta, yes. So the enlightened person, yukta can, the vidwan yukta. Vidwan is the enlightened person, the knowing person. And here, let's see, yukta can mean various things. I forgot how he translates it here. It can be self-controlled, it can be concentrated, or it can be joined in work, sarvakarmani. I don't even see it here now. Janayet ajnanam lokaha joshayet sarvakarmani. Anyway, one should not create any disturbance in the beliefs of the ignorant. Nabuddhi bhedam, should not confuse the ignorant who are attached to work, while himself remaining alert. The enlightened person should, by duly performing all the duties, make them do these. So that's what he means by yukta here, or how he takes yukta. That the enlightened person, yukta samacharan, should engage them, should be engaged in work and engage others in work. So one should not create any disturbance in the beliefs of the ignorant who are attached to work, while himself remaining alert. The enlightened person should, by duly performing all the duties, make them do these. So I see here, he gives it the meaning of alert. So yukta meaning alert. Yukta meaning just joined, from yuj dhatu. So the idea here is that the enlightened person should not create confusion in the minds of others. And so you see in Sri Ramakrishna's teaching, in the Gospel, in the Kathamrita, he always teaches according to the needs of the person. When he would take Swamiji aside to teach him from the Ashtavakra Samhita, he would teach him the highest knowledge. But to others, he would engage them in devotional activities and tell them that they should do their duties. He would scold Hajra for leaving his home and not paying attention to his wife and his children. He said, aren't you embarrassed that neighbors are having to take care of your wife and children? What kind of man are you that you have no sense of shame? So on the one hand, he speaks to Hajra in that way, and another to M, Master Mahashoy, when Master Mahashoy tells him that his wife is threatening to commit suicide because he's not paying attention to her, then Sri Ramakrishna says, what kind of wife is that? And so for different people, different teaching he gave because of different levels of comprehension. So here he's saying that the wise one should not create disturbance in the beliefs of the ignorant, but should engage them in activity. Because action is good for most of us, as I explained last time. Holy Mother said that as long as I live, so long may I work, because working is wonderful. Such a joy to be able to work. And so if all work is taken away from us, and we have nothing that we have to do, then we find how miserable we are. We think how miserable work is, because, I've got to go do this, and I've got to do that, and now I've got to get up, and I've got to exert myself. Will have everything taken away from you, all work and duties taken away from you, and then you'll really see what misery is. then you'll pray to have something to do. So that's the reason why Sri Krishna says that we should engage people in work. And 27, which is where we came to last time, Prakrite kriyamanani gunaih karmani sarvashaha ahamkara vimodhatma kartaham iti manyate. Prakrite kriyamanani gunaih karmani sarvashaha. So actions are done by the gunas of Prakriti in all ways. Actions in all ways are being performed by the gunas of Prakriti. Everything here is being governed by the gunas of Prakriti, by Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. The three gunas, the three qualities, but they're not actually qualities. They're actually the very stuff of Prakriti. Prakriti is made out of the three gunas, the three forces. The force of inertia, ignorance, darkness, which is tamas. The force of activity and passion and action and reaction, which is rajas. And then the force of equanimity, of sattva, calm equanimity. So as I explained last time, in Chinese thought, you have yin and yang, two opposing forces. Yin, the dark and feminine force, and yang, the light and masculine force. Yang, aggressive, and yin, passive, and so forth. So divided nature into these two forces. But in Indian thought, there are three forces. There are the two forces of tamas and rajas. And then the third force, which is not the perfect balance of these two, but it's a higher third, the quality of sattva, which is when these two are balanced, one rises to a higher quality, which is sattva, a quality of equanimity. And the reality is outside of all three. But everything in this world is controlled by the three gunas. So sometimes our minds are in a tamasic state. So we don't feel like thinking anything. We just want to go to sleep. We feel lazy, lethargic. Sometimes the mind is rajasic. The mind is just full of thoughts, all sorts of thoughts churning out. And at other times, the mind is equanimous. The mind is just peaceful and clear and lucid. Sometimes the body feels very lethargic. We don't feel like doing anything. Sometimes the body is rajasic. Even when we want to settle down, the body wants to do something. And then sometimes the body is sattvic. We just sit, and we can sit for a long time with the body steady. The body feels balanced. And so everything in nature, body and mind and external nature also, is governed by the three qualities. So the prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. All actions are being governed by the three gunas. Ahamkara vimodhatma kartaham iti manyate. But the vimodhatma, the deluded soul, the deluded person, thinks kartaham, I am the doer. Iti manyate, thinks that I am the doer. So everything is done by the gunas of Prakriti, but the vimodhatma, the deluded soul, thinks kartaham. Ahamkara vimodhatma, the soul deluded by the ahamkara, by the sense of I. So the idea is that we are not the doer. We are not actually the agent of action. Prakriti is the agent of action. That we are the conscious witness, but we identify with the body and mind. And so I think that the body and mind and their actions are my actions. When the body is sick, I feel I'm sick. When the mind is in a bad mood, I say I'm depressed. When the mind is happy, I say I'm happy. When the body does something, I say I did it. But as I've explained both last time and on other occasions, I don't know how I do any of the things that I do. I think I'm going to give a class, I'm going to speak. I don't know how I do that. Nobody knows how they do it. Just somehow it happens. But I take credit for it and say, I'm giving a class. I'm going to walk from here to the store. I don't know how to walk. The body just walks, and yet I take credit for it and say, I'm walking. I'm going to build a house. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I don't know how any of this happens. It just happens by the forces of Prakriti. But the ahamkara is that which takes credit for it and says that I'm doing it. The actions of walking are so complex that how can I take credit for that? I don't know how I walk, it just happens. I don't know how I speak. The actions are even more complex for speaking. It just happens, and yet I take credit for it. And so the ahamkara vimudhatma, the soul deluded by egotism, says kartaham, thinks kartaham, I am the agent of action, I am the doer. So this is where we got to last time, and it looks like where we got to this time as well. So next time we'll start on verse 28. So are there any questions before I close? Actually, there's not time now, but if there's Om Purnamada Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. That infinite reality is full. This relative universe is full. When fullness returns to fullness, only fullness remains. Oh, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all the beings of the universe. So for announcements, on Thursday,